Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Welcome to the Encounter program, sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. I'm your host, Mark Kimpland, the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. We have an exciting program for you today, and I want to jump right into it because we have a lot of information that we want to share about this exciting ministry. And this morning, I'm joined with Kaitlyn Hoeflein, who is the Executive Director of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Twin Tiers, and also Jane Puls, who is a volunteer Big Sister. And I want to welcome both of you to the Encounter program. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having us.
This is going to be a great time, and I didn't want to waste any time because we have a lot to get to. But why don't we first, as we settle in here today, for our listeners and viewers, can you just give a little bit of your background, what's brought you to this ministry, what's brought you to this time in your life? And if Kate, if we could start with you and just give our viewers and listeners a little background.
Certainly. So I'm from the area. I grew up in just over the border in Pennsylvania, where our office is located in Towanda. And I originally studied psychology in school, and I really thought I wanted to go into some type of counseling or human services. And after college, I worked as a mental health counselor for a few years, and I realized, wow, this is not for me. I'm passionate about wanting to help people, but I felt like I could be more effective in a leadership or administrative type role. And so I went back and I got my master's in business, and when the position opened with Big Brothers Big Sisters as the director, it was a perfect marriage of the two things that I'm, one, passionate about and two, skilled at, which is human services and business leadership. So it's been an incredible experience.
So it sounds like you're at the right place at the right time.
Yes,
doing the right
it is.
thing.
It's the right. Perfect.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Good. Well, welcome again.
Thanks.
Joan, what about your background? A little bit about yourself.
I am basically a gypsy. I've lived everywhere. I'd say I'm from everywhere. My husband and I recently moved here from the Charlotte area. I have 3 grown daughters, 4 grandbabies, and I've probably had every career possible. I've had small businesses. I've done industrial sales, but I've got this passion for children. I like to help guide them. And when I was young, my mother, she got a big brother for my little brother, and that's what got me introduced to the whole Big Brother Big Sister. So I really wanted to help a little child when all my nests got empty.
Yeah, well, great choice, great choice. Let's dive into this. I've heard a little bit over the years and in ministry about Big Brothers and Big Sisters, but never quite understood it and never really connected like I've been blessed to connect here with the both of you about this. So can you kind of give our viewers and listeners kind of a synopsis? What is it? What is Big Brothers and Big Sisters? Can you? It's
amazing how frequently I hear that. So Big Brothers Big Sisters has been around for over 100 years. So when something has that much history, the name, it gets around. And so many people have said to me, yeah, I've heard of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I think everybody has their own idea about what it is. Okay, it's maybe mentoring, but that's exactly what it is. It's a mentoring program. It's an organized mentoring program that matches adult volunteers, 18 and older, with at-risk children between the ages of 6 to 14. And then those matches, those mentoring matches with a big brother and little brother and big sister and little sister are professionally supported by our staff. They're monitored, they're supervised, but really what we're doing is facilitating a friendship between a child and an adult. And a lot of these kids are, and we can get more into that later, but a lot of these kids are incredible kids with a world of potential that just really want someone who is going to give them attention and give them positive attention. And that volunteer, that mentor has the opportunity to influence these kids in such a tremendous way. Through just being a friend. So Big Brothers Big Sisters is exactly what it sounds like. It's a big brother, a big sister, an adult person for a child 6 to 14.
So they've been around for 100 years, but have not been in the Twin Tiers for 100 years.
That is correct.
Can you give us a little bit of that background?
A quarter of a century. So we started in Bradford County as Big Brothers Big Sisters of Bradford County in 1991. So this is our 26th year serving Bradford County. And over the past two and a half decades, we've expanded into Sullivan County and Tioga County in Pennsylvania, and then Tioga County in New York, and then most recently Broome County. Yes. So last year when I started as director, we would get applications very often for volunteers and for littles in Broome County because they didn't have a program. And at the time it was like, heartbreaking to get applications, to have people interested in volunteering and to not be able to do anything.
So there's nothing you could have done then?
At that point there was not. Yeah. Simply because as a program we just weren't ready to expand into Broome County. And a new director, some turnover, and the board, and they had never served Broome County prior. And actually, we ended up in Broome County because this county doesn't have their own chapter, and they've never had their own chapter. And so Big Brothers Big Sisters of America wanted to make sure that every community was represented by an affiliate. So they assigned Broome County to us in Bradford County, but at the time, like I said, we weren't equipped to make matches. And so then this past year we started looking at, okay, what are the needs in this community? And we really realized there's such a need for a program like this, a one-on-one community-based mentoring program. And we felt like we were in a place to serve that need.
Wonderful. It sounds like you are.
We hope so.
So I'm glad I'm not alone, because there's probably many folks that are viewing and listening to this program who have also heard of Big Brothers Big Sisters, but never really quite understood exactly what they did and what it was all about. So let's go a bit deeper on this. What then do the bigs and the littles do together? What are those kinds of things so that the people can grasp an idea as to whether that would fit their lifestyle or where they're at? What are some things that they do?
It's a great question. And I say if you have a lifestyle, you can include a child in it. It is not, the options are truly endless. Anything that you enjoy doing, that you have as a hobby, or even simple daily life like cooking dinner, doing grocery shopping, just including a child in that, giving them positive attention, giving them affirmation, giving them consistency. That's what really makes all the difference for these kids. So it can be as extravagant as, planning an activity, a craft, a project, working on with them, a woodworking project, a painting, something like that, and as mundane as going to the grocery store and letting them help you pick out the produce and bringing them home and cooking a home-cooked meal with them, and working in the garden, or going to a museum, going to the movies, going to a sporting event. There are an option for anybody, I would say.
Okay. What would be the time commitment then? Someone's listening to this program or watching this program, and they're trying to put the pieces together. What would be the time commitment that most of the bigs would have with the littles?
Yeah, so we say a minimum of 4 hours every 2 weeks. So that can be 2 to 4 hours a week, or 4 to 8 hours every 2 weeks is the general parameters. Some places say we want 2 hours every week, but we have some bigs who work every other weekend, for example, and then on the off weekend, they spend a longer stretch of time together. So 4 hours every 2 weeks is the bare minimum, which is not very much time. We tell people it's something like 0.5% of your time. If with 0.5% of your time in a 2-week span, you could literally change the life of a young person. Why wouldn't you? Who wouldn't want to do that?
Sure. So there's a real flexibility then.
A lot of flexibility. So it's negotiated between the volunteer and the family. And we've never had a match that just couldn't find a time. Sometimes they get together in the evening, sometimes it's on the weekends. Like I said, sometimes it's every other weekend. In the summer, it's really easy because the kids are home from school. School year can be a little trickier, but it could be a Tuesday night from 6 to 8, or a Saturday morning from 9 to noon. So lots of options. It's very flexible.
Well, Joan, I'm glad that you were able to be here, because you are volunteering now and such. And I guess my question to you is, I'm sure that many people are wondering, with the people who volunteer, why did you want to volunteer? Why would someone want to volunteer to do this?
If you like to help children, if you have any desire to want to open up a child's world, it's meant the world to me. I think it means maybe more to me than it does to my little. I love it so much. Big brother, big sister has really done a great job in matching me with my little, with our interests. We do the same things. She and I, we both have a love of old architecture, so we discover old places to go. We go hiking. We do our first things that she's ever done. We went blueberry picking a couple of weeks ago, and she's never even had a blueberry. We went shopping, and there, you don't need to spend money, but you can go. We went shopping a couple weeks ago over in Syracuse, and she got on her first escalator ride. She went to her first mall. I mean, it's just wonderful how you can open up someone's life, and I think it's truly changed her life. Plus, her family, they're more interested in her homework and things like that now too.
Sure. So you can just open up her,
It's
eyes
wonderful.
and minds.
It is.
Yes,
And she's opened up mine too.
Isn't that
Yeah.
Isn't that
I
wonderful?
think most of our volunteers say, I know this does a lot for the child, but it's ultimately done more for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. A win-win all the
A
way around.
win-win, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what about expense? You've touched on it a little bit. Is there an expense to this? What if someone doesn't have a lot of money, and the idea of bringing another
responsibility,
another responsibility,
expense,
another being into their lifestyle? What can you share about that?
You know, that's a common question that we do get, and understandably so, because one, kids are expensive, and nobody has unlimited money. So we want to make sure that we can, and we want to make sure that the volunteer has the resources, mostly with time, to commit. But it does require the expense of using your car to pick up the child and bring them home. Aside from that, there never has to be an expense. I mean, we have college students who have no money. I mean, I was in college not that long ago, and I understand you don't have extra money to do things. There are a million things you can do that cost nothing. And for these kids, the transformation doesn't come from what you buy them. It comes from what you give them from yourself, from your time, from your words, your affirmation, and all of that stuff is free. So aside from having a vehicle to do transportation and being able to put gas in it, there's never has to be an expense. It can be completely free. Now, if a volunteer chooses to, say, take them out to dinner or take them to a movie, typically they will offer to pay for it. Now, again, we have college students or others who just don't have the extra money. And then if they decide we'd like to go to the movies, then they can ask the parent for support. And if the parent says, yeah, I'll pay for them to go to the movie, then they work that out between the volunteer and the family. But in general, if extra cash is a problem, it's not a barrier in being a volunteer. And again with the transportation in Binghamton, I mean, the community is big enough that we could find you a little within 5 minutes. You could walk to their house and then walk to the park, and all of that is perfectly free. Tons of options.
Yeah, well put. Again, folks, we're here today with Kaitlyn Hoeflein, who is the Executive Director of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Twin Tiers, and also Joan Puls, who is a volunteer Big Sister. Joan, I wanted to ask you a question, and I'm the pragmatic one and the realist one and such things, and got to cross my T's and dot my I's. How do you, from week to week or month to month, decide what you want to do with the child that you're connected with? Is it something that's just off the cuff, or is it something that's planned, or is it a little bit of both? How do you decide in that time frame what to do and when to do it? And
we will meet, say, one day, and then at the end of our meeting this past week, we had an overnight stay, and we had a wonderful time. And before I dropped her off, we said, what are we going to do next time? And we decided on an activity. And then I will contact the parents, and I'll say, does this work in your timeline? And we've grown to be very good friends also, her mom and dad. And so we all work it out, and there's never been any issues.
Now, is that typical, the idea of you have someone who's mentoring, but also establishes a relationship with the parents also? Is that typical, atypical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think any parent who's going to allow their child to go with someone wants to feel that it's somebody that they trust and that they like, and so we encourage volunteers to build a connection with the parents.
Great.
Now, the friendship, the relationship, it is focused on the child and the volunteer. So, and I know Joan doesn't do this, but we certainly wouldn't want the volunteer going and spending all of their time with the little at their home, because the idea is to bring the child into a new experience.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's very important to be collaborative, to be communicative, to build a relationship and build trust with the little's parents, which I know, Joan, you've done really well. It just helps the child and the family, and
Sure.
with scheduling. And I mean, your little is 10, right?
No, she's actually 12.
12, that's right.
Yes,
She's 12.
yes. And
But
she
she
just
still
entered
isn't
middle
old enough to
school.
drive.
Yes,
She
yes,
probably
yes,
doesn't have the
yes,
ability to run
Yes.
her own schedule every
Sure.
week. So
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm sure some of the folks listening and watching this are probably wondering, how do the volunteers get vetted? How what happens there? How do you screen the volunteers, especially in this day and time in which we
Yes.
live? That is paramount.
It
So,
is, and
yeah.
to us it is too. I mean, child safety is
Sure.
our guide in everything that we do, from how we enroll volunteers to the activities they do together, and the supervision of the matches ongoing. It's for child safety. So the vetting process is pretty lengthy. If a volunteer reaches out to us and says, hey, I'm interested, we have an initial interview in a community place where one of our professional case managers meets with the volunteer. It's about an hour, where they do an interview, ask them questions, assess what their motivation is, what their experience is. Why do you want to do this? What's the purpose behind this? And that gives us a really good opportunity to get to know them as a person and gauge what's driven them towards Big Brothers Big Sisters. So that's the first step. And then from there, it gets a little more technical. We do a background check on all of our volunteers, and we do references for all of our volunteers. So every volunteer must include 3 references: a family member, a friend, and a colleague, and then a 4th if they've worked in a youth serving organization. So if they've, say, been a Girl Scout leader, then we need a reference from the Girl Scouts. And so we do all of that, and then the last step is we do a home interview. So we go out to the home of the volunteer